What's going on, guys? Today's review will be the 2010 Cartoon Network series, and that is Regular Show. The show is currently airing on Cartoon Network, originally aired on Boomerang, and streaming, seasons 1 to 3 on Netflix, and currently streaming on Max, formerly known as HBO Max, and Hulu, and its beta on Disney+. The series follows best friends, slackers Mordecai and Rigby, a blue jay and a raccoon, as they have plenty of misadventures almost every single day as they try to get off of doing their jobs at the park. Accompanying Mordecai and Rigby on their mishaps are their boss Benson, a short-tempered gumball machine, Skips, an immortal Yeti, Pops, a jolly old man with an oversized head, Muscle Man, an overweight, short, green man, High Five Ghost, Muscle Man's best friend, Margaret, a robin who Mordecai severely crushes on, Eileen, a beaver who's Margaret's best friend and Rigby's crush, Mr. Maillard, the owner of the park and Pop's father, Starla, Muscle Man's girlfriend, CJ, a cloud-like being, Thomas, a goat who becomes the park intern, the Grim Reaper himself, Death, and many more. They face many mishaps such as a magical keyboard, video game characters run amok, troublemaking unicorns, an undead movie night, going to space, and tons of crazed monsters and villains. Whenever they're not doing their work or facing off against a strange encounter, Mordecai and Rigby would just like to sit down and play video games. The writing for this show is very well done. The idea of turning boring everyday jobs into exciting adventures gives a lot of opportunities for imaginative ideas. On top of that, it can be very funny and action-packed, even a little suspenseful, dramatic, and heartfelt. The tone is very well balanced as it can range from pretty laid back to adrenaline rushing, and it gives it a more adult feeling to it without relying on more risque and shocking content. The episodes are very well paced, and has a great grasp on blending both very relatable issues as well as 1980s/90s culture. However, some of the plot lines aren't very well handled, and it can get clunky at times. While there are some bad episodes like Do Me a Solid, Think Positive, The Best Burger in the World, Wall Buddy, Replaced, and Lunch Break, there are thankfully many great ones like The Power, Just Set Up the Chairs, Death Punchies, Free Cake, Meter Maker, Elo Govnor, My Mom, High Score, Rage Against the TV, Party Pete, Temp Check, Jinx, Grave Sites, Over the Top, First Day, The Terror Tales of the Park episodes, Camping Can Be Cool, Weekend at Benson's, Excellent, The Best VHS in the World, Fuzzy Dice, Sugar Rush, Exit 9B, The Christmas Special, Sandwich of Death, A Bunch of Full-Grown Geese, Steak Me Amadeus, The Thanksgiving Special, Skip Story, The Real Thomas, Rigby Goes to the Prom, Rigby's Graduation Special, Space Escape, Kill 'Em with Kindness, Cheer Up Pops, and the epic finale, a regular epic final battle. The show has a very solid sense of humor, and it manages to be adult without relying on risque or taboo subjects. And this does lead to some very funny moments like the witty banter and dialogue between the characters, the more wacky situations they get into, some pretty solid dark humor, the gags and slapstick, some of the more adult jokes and innuendos, and even some of the gross-out humor. The show can even be pretty heartfelt and emotional at times, such as the relationships between the characters leading to some pretty tender moments, and especially the last scene in the series finale. Depending on the situation, the show can also have some pretty solid action scenes that can get pretty intense and even suspenseful at times, such as Mordecai, Rigby, or any of the other characters encountering one of the villains or monsters, getting out of tight situations, or just figuring out how to get everything back to normal at the park. The animation is very solid and does have an appealing look to it. The characters all have simple but effective designs and some pretty fluid movements. The backgrounds are pretty well done, and there are some pretty solid effects. The characters are all incredibly likable and funny, and while they can have some unlikable moments, they do have some solid chemistry and character growth. Mordecai and Rigby are both very likable protagonists, as while they can be pretty lazy and try to do things to get out of working, They are very friendly and easygoing, and they have some great chemistry, with Mordecai trying to be more responsible while Rigby tends to be more reckless. But they also have some great character development, like Mordecai getting over Margaret and learning to move on, and Rigby learning to become more responsible. The rest of the characters are also incredibly likable, as they do have some awesome traits, and they too can have some solid growth, like the short-tempered but well-meaning Benson, the bubbly and joyful Pops, the crude and loud Muscle Man and his usually silent friend High Five Ghost, the immortal and wise Skips, the kind and lovely Margaret, the nerdy and supportive Eileen, the firm but caring Starla, the chill but short-fused CJ, the straightforward but secretive Thomas, the firm owner of the park Mr. Maillard, the crafty and menacing Death, and lots of the more minor characters like Techmo, Gary, the guardians of eternal youth, Jean, Dawn, the baby ducks, the basketball king, Mona, Celia, Pam, Mordecai's mom Hillary, the tough crew of the Space Tree Station, and many more. There are also some pretty solid and formidable villains that our heroes face that can prove to be a challenge for them, like the relentless Anti-Pops, the self-centered GBF and his son GBF, Jr., the shape-shifting Doug, the ruthless Clorg Bane, the troublemaking Geese, the fun zone animatronics that happen to be wanted fugitives, the time-traveling Urge, the power-crazed Susan, and many more. The voice acting is really good, and the voice actors all manage to deliver some great performances, like J.G. Quintel as Mordecai and High Five Ghost, William Salyers as Rigby, Sam Marin as Benson, Pops, and Muscle Man, Mark Hamill as Skips, Janie Haddard as Margaret, Mindy Lewis as Eileen, Courtney Taylor as Starla, Linda Cardellini as CJ, David Ogden Stiers as Mallard, Julian Holloway as Death, and many more. The music by Mark Mothersbaugh, John and Roth, and Albert Fox is well composed and does fit with the show's tone, and the show also uses many memorable 80s and 90s songs in select episodes, and they're put to good use. Speaking about the movie, this show has its own direct-to-video movie from Warner Bros. Home Entertainment, Warner Bros. Pictures, and Cartoon Network Studios. Regular show, the movie in 2015. Not only that, this movie is another Cartoon Network movie that was distributed by Warner Bros. Pictures. And what is my verdict on this Cartoon Network series? I'm rating it a 9.5 out of 10. As what Makai the Brooklyn animator said, this show is the best show from the modern days of Cartoon Network.